Hello, baby.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Style and Direction Menswear podcast without the stuffiness. Starting us off here, I'm your producer, MJ, and editor.
Producer slash editor, I guess.
P/E. I think we made that joke
P-
before. I
PE.
feel like.
Yeah.
Hi,
Did you
I'm
guys have?
PE.
Did you guys? What was your PE teacher? Was he in
Yes.
shape? Did he seem like he could do any of the things that you were doing?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yes,
so yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
He was.
Yeah.
In high school, our PE teacher was 500 pounds.
I don't know what we're supposed to say,
Yeah,
Spencer.
you have to say like, oh, okay.
It was just a funny anecdote.
Yeah, was it Jabba the Hutt? Is that what you're saying? Like
I mean,
like
I
you
feel
will.
like that's meaner.
Well, in my head,
Um,
it's like I think it's funny if Jabba the Hutt, instead of being a gangster,
Yeah.
He was a
was
PE.
was
What
a
if
PE
instead
teacher.
of making Han Solo like freezing carbonite, what if he just made him run the mile instead?
Well, I don't want to pull rank on you, Spencer, but it wasn't Jabba's decision to put him in carbonite. It was technically it was Darth Vader who
Vader's.
wanted to test
Okay.
it.
Well,
Test it. Um
I
so
think Darth Vader should make people run the mile though. Like the Darth Vader's fitness challenge or something.
the DV 50 miler, like the JFK
Yeah.
50 miler thing. Yeah, he can do that. I hate it, but I hated the mile. I think that's
It's
Yeah.
the worst.
that's some kind of like torture, like making. I get making kids like play sports. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to run. And then okay,
like
were you?
people talk about it's like, oh, when the hell am I going to have to know about the War of 1812, or when am I going to have to know trigonometry? When am I going to have to run a full mile uninterrupted? You know?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
you know what the problem is because it
Yeah.
wasn't framed as like a health or survival thing. It was because you got to get like a certain time so that you get a certain grade, and that, whatever. It's not like, oh, because if you have to run for your life for whatever reason,
I mean,
you need to do this.
I think the meta reason is that just most schools have a quarter-mile track or something, or like field, and so it's easy just to make kids run around that 4 times.
You say that,
But
Yeah, mine was 6 laps
oh god, really?
yeah.
because ours wasn't the full thing.
Yeah.
Same
then
with us.
MJ,
We ran around
yeah.
the school, and our school is built on the side of a mountain, so
It's a
just-
terrace. It's a
yeah, you
terrace.
just-
We
you just
ran
go-
up the
you
mountain.
go up and you run down, and then
Here,
you run up
Did-
again.
Now, let me ask you guys this. I know we had to have grades for PE, right? But like,
Yeah.
were you guys actually graded on the mile? Like, was there like a letter grade?
I mean, I hope not. I was always near the end, you know? I was never
MJ,
one
what's
of the
yours?
fastest.
It depended which PE teacher or coach, whatever you had, because like
That sounds illegal right there. Standardize that shit, dude.
well, see that's the thing, right? There's the two extremes. There's the one that was just like, hey, I gotta get you guys to run the mile because like they told me to, but like I'm not, like, as long as you run it, like you get an A. And like there's the other one that was like, if you're under like, you have to be like under like 11 minutes or like whatever
Yeah.
to get like an A. And if you
Yeah,
like,
dude,
for
what if I-
every
Dude,
minute,
no,
it's like,
Let me tell you how shitty mine was.
Uh-huh.
If you got between 8 and 8:30, that's an A.
Oh man.
And if you were no, I think it's sub 8, so like 7:50 to 8 is like an A plus. Then you
What's
get
the
like
world
A,
record?
and then like 4 minutes.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes down. So like back in junior high, like when I got like when we did the mile and I was like at 11 minutes, I got like C's in gym, which is the dumbest shit. I it's like sometimes people physically can't do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like what if my lungs aren't like, you know?
Yeah, that was my excuse. My lungs were bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kidding. What if like
My
imagine
lungs
applying
actually
for
are bad,
jobs?
Yeah.
Like imagine applying for a job and you get turned down because your mile time was too like bad. Like that's on your permanent record. That's on
That's
your,
my
like...
biggest fear right there.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, you ran a 13-minute mile. Okay, we can't have you working here.
Why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is a desk job. Yeah, but we love fitness here, and
We
you
love
understand.
fitness.
You understand.
Yeah,
I hate the effort of running the mile. Anyway, that's my transition, guys.
that's a great segue.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
I would run the mile if I could take a Segway the whole time, I think.
Tell that to Joe Bluth.
I will.
Michael, where did the lighter
Michael.
fluid come from? Anyway, guys, I hope you had Hags. First of all, hope you had a great summer or have a great summer. Well, I mean, not. I hope you had it already. And did you guys remember that thing that happened? That's crazy.
Of course, all the events.
July.
and the thing.
Yeah.
I'll just say this: we all remember the Alamo.
And just wait till that happened, and we didn't
Yeah.
have to because it did. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great August. We had a great August. Our time off, to
Obviously,
obviously. I mean, check
we
the news.
yeah. Check the news. We all know what a great August we had.
Yeah, because people knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote it. But we're back. We're back for our last couple months of the year. As you know, we've got 2 episodes a month, and this is one of them for September.
Yeah, this is one of the episodes of the year.
Did you guys know that? Um, Anyway, I'm telling it to you now because this episode is going to be about effort, or rather, the perception of effort and how it
Yeah.
applies to being into menswear. This is, I mean, I'm kind of surprised we haven't talked about this before. Like, we've done, I guess, 2 episodes on cool, like one about the rule of cool, and the second one about like how we think things are cool and how it should just be what you
Mhm.
like.
Yeah.
But we've never really talked about like effort. We've done a lot about like intentionality and having a POV, which might be considered effort. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about
Mm-hmm.
how we define it and in our like little hobby.
I mean, yeah, I
And
think you could
yeah,
say that we have done a lot of episodes about things that require effort.
yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
But we haven't talked about the effort itself, I guess.
Yeah, because again, one thing I want to emphasize at the top here is that we definitely consider menswear a hobby of ours. Like it's not tied to like anything that we have to do.
Yeah, we do it
Um,
for the love of the game, baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally. I mean, like as MJ and I have talked about this before, it's like playing video games in a sense, or collecting Star Wars action figures or whatever. The only good thing
Yeah.
is that we can wear it, which I guess makes it similar to cosplay. I know some people don't like that connotation, but too bad. Um, but yeah, I think it's kind of funny to have this discussion about effort because people don't always see it as a hobby or as something fun to begin with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think we get bogged down in conversations about effort. If you're not having enough effort, people look like they're lazy, or it's also bad if you're putting too much effort into it, or when people perceive you to have too much effort, which I think
Well,
is kind of crazy as well.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that I think a lot of people who, yeah, you get the people who are not into menswear. That I get this comment a lot where people will be like, "Oh man, how long does it take you to get dressed every morning or whatever?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
not
5
that
seconds,
long.
5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like even if I'm wearing like a tucked in shirt and a sport coat, it doesn't take me, any longer to throw that on as it would just like a hoodie and, fucking sweatpants or jeans, whatever. Maybe jeans take a little bit longer because they got buttons, but anyway, a couple different ways of looking at effort that we'll be getting into, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of comes down to like society. To
Yeah, like
quote
the
We live in
my
one.
friend, yeah, Joker Arthur Fleck, or I don't know what his Jack Napier. I think in the
Joker.
Jack Nicholson one. Um, but we've been kind of hinting at like addressing like optimization culture and like how like there's like min max, like people, I think especially when it comes to putting a hobby on the internet, people want to find like the shortcut, and
Mhm.
with that comes like min max culture where you want to find out the maximum benefit for the minimum amount of effort, and
Mhm.
people really like hyper fixate on what that is, like quantifiably, like how much effort should I be putting into this, what does that mean, is it money, is it time, is it like should I be looking at inspo, stuff like that. And I always think it's funny because people also want to be effortless, like people want
Mhm.
to know about effort, but they also want it to look like they didn't care. Like I know we talked about Sprezzatura. We've never actually had an episode on Sprezzatura, so this kind of counts as well. Where Sprezzatura stands for that stands for, it's not an acrostic. A special poo poo.
A special poo poo.
Yeah.
SP.
SP.
SPP
Yeah, special producer. Right, MJ?
/E.
/E. SP&Es. But yeah, it kind of is translated roughly to studied carelessness, where the whole idea is a guy. It's like based on like a book or something, or like it's like a quote in some book,
I think it
Italian
was
book.
like the original. It was originally about like fencing or something.
Yeah, it was a guy who would like practice every day for like 1,000 hours to look like, oh, I'm just naturally good at this kind of thing. But people want to be like that. People really like. People want to look like everything is easy, which is still an admirable thing to do. I think we all kind of want to make everything look natural for us.
Yeah.
But I think just like with literally any hobby, there has to be some effort put into it.
I don't think you can get like stylish or whatever, or like maybe not stylish, but I don't think you can be super knowledgeable about clothes without putting in some effort. And you know what? Maybe I will say that you can't be super stylish because without some effort, because I think you have to have a base knowledge about clothes, how they're constructed, how they fit on your body, etc.
So I know this is like semi-related, but I was talking about like film score, obviously. So big surprise there.
You were?
Yeah, I was.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always.
And with my girlfriend, and she brought about something how some of the best people, like not composers, but like writers or art designers, set designers, costumers, like the best people in her mind are the people who come to the production with a bunch of knowledge and a lot of like a wealth to like draw from inspiration wise, and that's what makes them great, because it's just you have it, right? And I think that's what you're saying, Spencer. Like like it's to be really good at something, it's good to be well rounded, right?
Yeah.
And that definitely applies with menswear, because like as we said here with Sprezzatura, it's like sometimes with Sprezzatura you're breaking the rules, but you also have to like know them to break them. And I know that that's like a common like idiom spouted in menswear, but it's easier to know how to subvert things as opposed to like just getting lucky. Not that you can't get lucky, but
I mean, yeah, I think there is some pushback against the whole like you need to know the rules to break them, and I understand the pushback, but I also think like there is also knowing like which rules you want to break and like how specifically you want to break them. That only comes from knowing the rules, because I mean, there's a difference between someone who's like, oh wow, they're wearing brown shoes with a black suit in a way that's very tasteful, versus like a clown or something, like that's just wearing a bunch of random shit.
Well, I mean, it has to do that has to do with like taste, right? And I know we're getting a little off topic, but like like wearing like a black linen 3-roll-2 suit with like suede Chelseas can be cool, but wearing like an H&M black suit with like Aldo brown shoes that are like plasticky, like I know it's kind of getting to more of a quality thing, but like they just literally will look different. They like literally like the cut and everything. But yeah, I mean, before we move on, I think we have to define how people are looking at effort, because as we've said, if it's a hobby and if you like it, everything's gonna have effort.
There's
Even if you
effort.
actually, I'll take that back. Even if you don't like it, you have to put effort. Like there are people who still have to put effort into their work clothes because they don't want to get fired.
Yeah.
But obviously,
I think it's good even if you're not into fashion, just to put effort into your appearance. I think that's a good thing that most people should do.
Yeah, and we're not saying that like I mean,
we're preaching to the choir here, I think. I don't think there's anybody who listens to this podcast that's going to get offended by that statement.
Like, they're like, I actually want to wear smelly clothes. I mean,
I only wear, smelly Minecraft hoodies and plaid shorts every day.
I don't practice regular hygiene.
Yeah.
I was wondering how much did oh, we gotta talk about that sometime. Anyway.
Yep.
Subscribe to the Patreon.
Every time we talk about this, because so again, this comes up because like you go on MFA, you go on Style Forum, or even in my DMs with some of my famous debates, people like, oh man, Ethan, you're such a tryhard, or blah blah blah. Like there's so much effort.
Lincoln Douglas. The famous debate.
Yeah, exactly. But it is interesting to like have people be like, like, oh yeah, like your outfit, you're such a try hard. Look at you wearing a foulard tie and a striped shirt. I'm like, dude, I wear it all the time. It doesn't take that much of effort,
Yeah.
you know. But again, is having passion effort, or is having like a past of being interested in something effort?
I mean, I think there, and this is again mostly not like fashion people, but quote unquote normies or whatever. But I think there are some people that would say if you like have a very specific look that you go for, um, that's like quote unquote try hard. And I mean, it's like the same group and again, I'm getting off topic now, but it's like the same thing
Yeah,
with
be
like
a hater.
movies, where there are people who like really dislike like Wes
Oh, like
Anderson or
Wes
something
Anderson. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like he has a very specific like visual aesthetic and people like what the hell, like why is all the shots parallel not why is
Perpendicular.
everything so symmetrical or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can also get that same way with clothes, and you see that on like MFA,
Yeah.
when something like gets to the front page and all of a sudden you get like IT guys looking at like
I
some
mean,
like
top of
weird
the
tech
month
wear
stuff,
thing.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the top of
exactly.
the month.
Yeah. And it's like, what the hell is this guy wearing? I couldn't wear this to work,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like everything has to like there's some weird metric for effort, but like even in our Discord, who again shout out the guys who support us. We did source some ideas and some notes and some thought starters from our
Hmm.
our very faithful patrons. But what also the debate kind of came down to again before the episode comes out is that are we talking about effort in the creation of the outfit itself, like literally putting the pieces together, like are we talking about effort there, or are we talking about effort in how we want to please people, like the end goal? Like are we putting effort into the response we want from people? Is it effort being put in there to be edgy and subversive, or are we putting effort into so that we blend in? And I think that's kind of an interesting idea here, because the thing about fashion is that it's always going to be both. Like there's like it's kind of like film score again. Like I hate bringing that up all the time, but literally like any art form where it's like when you create something,
Hmm.
there's effort into your personal taste and then effort into, okay, how are other people going to perceive this?
Hmm.
And I think our answer is it should do both, but
Yeah.
also like know your audience, but also sometimes the people watching it aren't your audience, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think at a certain point, like getting dressed in the morning is going to come pretty naturally. I mean, I'll say that most
I
of the
hope
time I
so.
don't. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I know how to tie my shoes now, so that really helped a lot.
Well, I mean that's
Um,
how it is historically,
but
right? Like the more, like we've always said, the more you do something, the easier it becomes. Like it
yeah, because
doesn't
I mean,
feel like effort.
like I've seen you put together your outfits and stuff like that, and it doesn't normally take more than like a minute or two or something. You
Hmm.
like
Okay, I will say I don't think I need to ask people for help, because in my head I know what I'm gonna wear anyway.
mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like it's the same thing for me where most of the time I mean, I put in the effort to cultivate a wardrobe that is very like interchangeable or whatever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Everything kind of meshes together. So the actually getting dressed in the morning isn't usually a lot of effort. Sometimes, like if we're going out or if I know it's going to be something where I'm going to get like Ethan's going to be taking my photo, or it's like it's a menswear event, I'll take more time trying on like combinations or whatever, or like as people were talking about in the Discord today, like playing dress up, just kind of doing test runs of things at home, whatever.
Hmm.
Question
Um,
on that: Do you have to put it on to test drive it?
um, I mean I can like I don't have to. Well, I don't know. I feel like it helps to see just how proportionally everything goes together. Because like in terms of like pattern and everything, I'm like, okay, well I know how that's gonna look. But sometimes I will try on a pair of pants with a jacket or something and decide that I don't like the two of them together.
See, this is kind of interesting because if it's tailoring, I don't have to put it on, man. I
Yeah.
know how this all works. When it's casual, I'm like I'm not lost, but it's still like casual
You
stuff
just
still
want to make
takes more.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I'm like not doing what I normally do,
Yeah.
right? Like that's why there's, and then it's the same thing, right? I wear a tie like 5 days a week, so it's so like any outfit with a tie is so, or bow tie, or even just a button up shirt with a sport coat. It is so easy. It goes. It's just it takes like five
You
seconds.
know how it works
Hmm.
already.
Yeah, I mean, I already have the inspiration in my head, as I said before. Like classic menswear or tailoring, it's actually the least effort. It's so much least effort that I can't help the ideas come to me because
It's already
behind me,
there.
it's I
Yeah.
can't stop. It just happens, man. Like I could keep making outfits to oblivion unless I said, "Hey, I'm gonna wait and go to sleep right now." Um, but yeah, I mean, the idea of like it's things that are every day. Like I'm sure Spencer, like again, like when it's not like an event outfit or whatever, or for
Hmm.
me when it's not casual, it's like second nature, you know. And it's funny how people again are so surprised, like because I don't know, maybe it's because clothes are tied to like even more tied to vanity, or especially now, when you're posting a fit pic, it's there's social media involved. But like,
Hmm.
is someone gonna say, like, if a guy is playing jazz and it gets to the part where it's a piano solo or any solo, right? There's jazz has solos, right? Every
Yeah.
part of the combo gets to do it. You think someone's going, what a try hard, and it's like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
whole fucking point. But then I did find, and not to go too much of a tangent here, but I did find like Christians, like an article somewhere where it's just like jazz is too indulgent, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it kind of like there's kind of a weird puritanical idea, I think it's kind of like why Christians also don't like rock and roll. I mean, the underpinning there is like black culture, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, yeah,
But
is with jazz, is it like you're giving yourself too much into just cr- human creativity? Like, what
No,
is
I,
it?
I
You're
think
not.
it's more along the lines of like, because I don't know, it's like this weird thing, this weird perspective how it's highlighting that one person, or that it's like you're like performing for like yourself because I mean it's a solo.
Here,
So
well,
yeah,
here's my question: what's the difference between a jazz improv solo and speaking in tongues or something? You just that's just the Holy
you
Spirit.
got our famous anti-religion
hey,
thing that
hey,
we
you were
always do.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
let for everybody's sake, we're not gonna dwell on this one, but uh, the tongues thing is crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean,
sorry
again,
sorry
I
to
don't
our
want to get too
Pentecostal
much.
listeners.
I've been watching a bunch of true crime documentaries about Mormons recently.
Okay.
Those guys are crazy. Sorry I don't think we have any Mormon listeners. I'll say fundamentalist Mormons are crazy. There we go.
Yeah, there
Well,
you go.
it's
There's your
the
answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
But there,
extremes.
but I mean, so to go back to the menswear part of it, I feel like there
Yeah.
is technically like kind of like a puritanical, like Western Christian
Conservative
conservative,
perspective.
yeah, on menswear, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like there is this kind of like be reserved, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people like, I mean, like dandyism was like such a big thing because it's almost like at least in like the book I Am Dandy, or at least like the New York scene that comes with it. There's a lot of like relationships to, or I guess kind of, or whatever. It's tied to like burlesque and like kind of queer culture a little bit, which I think is really cool. And so there's like, I mean, there is this like, yeah, indulgent attitude that comes with creative dressing that people just don't like.
Hmm.
And and when it comes down to like, say, like us, where obviously we are cis men, where we're not queer. The thing that comes to, well, you guys are just trying too hard, and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
what's the big deal? Again, it's weird to be like, hey, jazz musician, you are
Yeah.
trying too hard. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Because
you
they're
don't go to an author like you wrote that book, damn, you're what a fucking try hard.
I
Like,
mean,
Yeah.
because
what?
I would also
What?
say a jazz musician is trying the least hard because they're just improving everything,
Because yeah,
baby.
Exactly, dude.
but
Like,
It's
remember they do that because they've learned the rules
That's
already.
true.
I
That's
mean,
true.
yeah,
It's
like
all about the notes you don't play, and it's all about the clothes you don't wear, which is
Jake
all of
Ludlow.
that.
He's cracked the
Yeah.
code.
That's great. That's a
That's the
quote.
episode.
That's the title. No, it's not. It's got to be the perception of effort because I wrote it down. Anyway, no, but I think you're on something there where it's like you have to know what goes into this kind of stuff. Like I mean,
Mhm.
us, like we said before, it's like we've have spent a lot of time, you know, looking at vintage, collecting vintage, handling vintage, looking at it on eBay,
Hmm.
and the same thing could be said when I looked into like classic menswear, like Armory, whatever. And because we know all of that stuff, it makes it easy to kind of just slip into whatever we want, as opposed to people if you don't, it might seem like it's like to a lot of people going from vintage to modern or even modern to vintage, whatever. It seems like an insurmountable, whereas to us, where it just happens, it seems fine.
Hmm.
It's like again, it would be crazy for me to say, MJ, you play Elden Ring, you're in what level? You're a tryhard, where it's like that's kind of the point. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to play if you're not going to put effort into this whole thing? You
Yeah. Are
know?
Yeah.
you like going back to the musician thing? It's like you're gonna go to a basketball game and tell all the players why you trying so hard.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Well, what's that thing where like, oh man, they're all dunking. They make them stop dunking. It's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry if
Yeah.
it's
I
If
just
mean,
it's
hey,
time
just
to
this
do it.
is
working.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Preview for the episode on like irony or whatever. But that's one of my issues with like irony and stuff like that. It's like I don't know if you're gonna be just like do it for real. Do
Yeah.
something
If you're gonna
Yeah.
if
sincerely.
you're gonna do it, might
Yeah,
as well
like
do your best, right?
put your back
Yeah.
into it.
I mean, the whole thing with with the effort people who are hate it, it's like it's almost like they're scared to do it themselves, right?
Hmm.
Like I I've never been around it, obviously, because no one says it about jazz. But I want someone to
Mhm.
go. I want if I was in the audience and someone goes, "Well, that jazz that pianist is trying too hard," I'd be like, "Okay, why don't you show me the right amount to play this music? Like, what
Yeah,
does that
Yeah.
like? Because I think the implication that someone is trying too hard must mean that this person believes in the right amount. But with
Yeah.
like, what does that even mean? Like in clothing, there is no context. I mean, like especially with all of us, like if you don't have to wear this to work, there are no rules of effort or what's
yeah.
too much to rely on,
I mean, a
right?
lot of the times the people who say it's like, oh, you're trying too hard, it's because they dress boring. And I mean, I don't know. I'm saying that as a guy who wears blue jeans and blue shirts every day, but like it's like you do, that's the one thing I notice. Like, will people like, oh my god, you're wearing a beret? What a try hard! And you look at their page, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, like I don't know. At least they're visible, you know.
Right. I mean, but here's the thing, right? Some people like admire the people who like have no effort, and it's not even and there's very there's very specific people I'm thinking of which I can't name, but like it's not even like, oh, the people who wear like an OC, like a plain, I think like Oxford cloth button down, Jared, right? I think he's great. I think he wears
Mhm.
the same thing all the time, and but it there's like he doesn't actually wear the same thing all the time because there's a lot of variation. I think that's cool, but it's not even like
Hmm.
him. It's always like when I see people like really admire like sloppy people like on the street, and I'm like, damn, dude, this guy's got a vibe. And not even like, I'm not even talking like streetwear wise. I'm talking like an old man wearing what is clearly a polyester suit with like orthopedic shoes, and like, maybe he's wearing like a fedora, like one of those
Mhm.
classic like old man styles, and a guy going like, this guy's way better than anyone in menswear. It's like, no, he's not. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy,
Hmm.
like to confuse minimalism or even restraint with
Maybe they
just
just like the attitude of like like they want the attitude of like I'm not even thinking about the clothes that I'm wearing because it's like you could I don't know, it's like
but
you
that's
could still tell that
but
like, well, yeah, it's I think it's also dumb, but that's what I think
right,
they're
because
probably
I was
getting
gonna
at.
say it's like, but then that means that those people aren't into menswear, right? Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
they're not in the hobby. Like not to do the whole no true Scotsman paradox thing, but or paradox. Is that a paradox or just
Fallacy.
fallacy? Thank you. It's the other one.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't like, oh, I wish I could be like that guy. The guy like it's like a guy who looks at a jazz musician saying that's true try hard, and then a guy like just fucking like putting his fist on the piano, and it's like you can't like, oh, that guy's look at him, he doesn't even care. Yeah, because he doesn't like, he's not
He
yeah,
doesn't
he
know
doesn't
what
know how
he's
to play.
doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, yeah, you could maybe admire it like if they have if they stumble on something. Like there are people who are like legitimate like polymaths who are like virtuosos, right? Who just inherently know stuff. But that's not always the case. And a random dude is not that guy, you know? Um like again, like jazz music, or even like Jacob Collier, who is like the guy who always wins all the awards because he's like such a fucking like crazy musician. Like he knows theory. Like he knows like the semitones. He can say the semitones and hum them like, and semitones
Hmm.
are the notes in between, like the tones in between two notes, because
Mm-hmm.
like it's a sound. It's not like an actual like this is it. Like there's literally in
Yeah.
between, and like but you have to know that to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like you just have to. And I think, to tie it to menswear again here, is that it just helps know everything, because everything becomes, at least at our stage, micro decisions. Like we don't have to think too hard now about, oh, does this chambray shirt go with these jeans, when it's like, oh, it's, back then it might be like, okay, I'm wearing 50s with 60s, is that really a thing? Whereas
Yeah.
now it's like it doesn't matter. We still might think about it, like, oh, I want to make sure if I'm wearing a 70s shirt, maybe, maybe don't do like a, I don't know, like a really skinny tie, because that might be really weird with like a really wide collar or something. But I feel like that's just effort. There is just how it works. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're playing a video game, you have to go, oh, I'm using a sniper. I still have to ADS and then zero in because of the distance between
Yeah.
between my
I mean,
crosshairs and the
at this
thing.
point,
I
at
can't
this
imagine being that like you're trying to like, no, I have to aim to play this game, dude.
well, yeah, because this is just like the experience that you get when you do something long enough.
Mm, yeah.
Um, so as I said before, I think if you want to get stylish, it's going to take some effort. And I mean, you were talking about earlier how everyone on the internet is looking for a shortcut, and I think that might be just because of the people on the internet are, again, like all 22-year-old IT guys or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think if you want to develop your own personal style, if you want to get to the point where it looks like you're not trying too hard, you are gonna have to try really hard. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Well,
like put in some effort to get there.
yeah, I mean, everything requires you. I mean, you have to do it, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't,
Yeah.
like there is no way, if you really didn't care about effort, have someone else pick your clothes out for you. Or as we said in like the I forgot which episode it was, but like if you really want to blend in, wear like a t-shirt of the place you work at with jeans,
yeah,
and then you will literally be anonymous. Not the hacker group, just a regular old NPC somewhere. Um,
Don't wear
but
the mask though.
yeah, I mean, again, it's just so baffling to me to have people like, what is it about menswear that make people say like, this whole try hard thing? Because it's also the people who also complain about like, oh, everyone dresses like slobs, right? like what, like they clearly they believe in some middle ground, but it's like sometimes the middle ground is like have fun, you know it's like, maybe, oh, don't waste your time, well, I'm gonna play a video game, oh, well, that's too much. Like, okay, what do you want me to do? Clearly you like,
yeah,
you want to say something. Because I think people confuse effort with what actually makes this fun. I think people see an outfit, they're like, oh, clearly Spencer had to think about color theory and blending aesthetics and proportions. But like, that's actually what makes this like the hobby, right?
yeah.
Like, we get to play with color, we get to do the stuff, and it becomes like second nature
And
because of how easy it is, or
yeah,
how
I was gonna
easy it can
say,
become.
it's like you said earlier. At a certain point, you are still making the same decisions you would have made when you were like putting together an outfit. When you first started getting interested in style.
Yeah.
But now everything is just kind of a lot more instantaneous, where I can look at something and be like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't have like the vibe I'm going for,
Yeah.
or immediately say it's like, oh, well, this is this is too wide, or my shirt's too wide for these like relatively slim pants or whatever. And it's just
Yeah.
something I can immediately know, rather than something I'd have to look in a mirror and decide after like 5 or 10 minutes.
Well,
Yeah,
that,
it's like
yeah,
exercise, kind of like what we talked about earlier, right? Uh,
I mean,
the
anything's like that.
yeah, it's like the more you look at inspo, more you think about it, more you try stuff on,
Yeah.
it'll get easier the next time.
And I mean, I think we should also talk about what should go into the effort, because we've been talking about, a lot about a vague
Yeah,
idea of
exactly.
putting in effort. But yeah, I think that's the other thing is we talk a lot about community and stuff like that, and it's not just because we think it's cool to have friends. I also think that if you really want to learn, if you really want to develop your style, one of the easiest, if you want a shortcut, it's to like get a bunch of friends who are into this, or start talking to like sellers and stuff like that. And obviously, it can be tough if you don't live in a major metropolitan area that has a lot of people who are into clothes.
Hmm.
But that's why we have the internet and shit. So it's like, hey, join our Discord, plug for that, or go on Styleform or MFA or something like that, and
Yeah.
get the knowledge from other people. Or again, like there's been a lot of debate. I know that we've been talking about if it's worth it to go into stores and stuff like that. But I will say, if you're starting out, it's really really helpful to go in and try Stefan, figure out what fits you, like what looks good on you, etc. Because I don't know, that's the only way you're gonna get that experience.
It's weird, yeah, because it's like people don't want to do that. Like
Uh huh.
why do people shy away from it? Like
Hmm.
like when I was talking about like the inspo part, or getting references, I'm like, that's like, here's the thing, like it sounds like work, but it wasn't work to us. Like we enjoyed looking at
Yeah.
photographs, we enjoyed going to thrift stores, and I think that's just, we just like that entire part of it, and so it's easy for us to recommend. But if you're not into doing that, then you might be not into it like we are, and we're just on two different. I mean, we just like menswear in different ways.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like, imagine like if you want to write songs, it's good to like if you're already like into looking at poetry. But if you're not into poetry, I don't know how you can write songs. Like I'm talking like actual lyrics, because it's like, how would you even do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, I mean, like I've been told like early on, like, oh yeah, Ethan, like you compose like, so like back in high school I would write music all the time because I didn't have a blog, or I mean I didn't have the menswear blog, so that was like my big outlet. And I remember one guy going like, man, Ethan, how much time do you have on your hands to like, to do all this effort into like writing music? And I'm like, well, when you listen to only film score, sometimes ideas just kind of come out at you, and then when you have an idea of what it is, it's just about the physical assembly of those things. And obviously, when you're starting out, right, you're like, oh, like what makes a minor chord? What makes D minor D F A? Okay, but then now it's like, oh, I already have that in my back pocket.
Hmm.
So I guess one thing. So if we're on that topic, do you guys remember when outfits you would take a lot of effort for you, like, or what did you actually feel was a laborious part of menswear early on, or even now in your journey? Maybe not now, because we all said about like events does take effort, but maybe before.
Before, at the beginning,
Well, what was it exactly for you? Like,
having you know less or limited options to work with,
yeah,
because it felt like, you know I know we talked about having, like, I guess, a decent amount or a good amount of clothes to pick from that all go together. But like, there's that weird part at the beginning where, you know, you don't have that much clothes uh, that you do want to wear together,
yeah,
or you feel like you can wear it together. Uh, so you kind of have to, uh, I guess, make do with what you have, and uh, that like limited feeling makes it feel harder. Um, At least for me, that's what it was.
I mean,
right,
I'll say that, like, for me, it was of course that, because like, yeah, it's like I there was a point where I'm like, okay, well, I have like four cool like vintage button ups or whatever, and then I have a bunch of graphic T-shirts of like Abraham Lincoln fighting a bear or something. Um, and then I would
god
have
damn it,
to, yeah, and then I would, and but like I think for me, like I and I'm sure Ethan can relate to this. I had the unique challenge of like, I was just like, I wanted to dress vintage, like I wanted to like kind of specifically replicate a vintage style. So for me, it was a lot about learning, um, like what was appropriate to kind of get that, like, the specific styles that I was going for. So
yeah,
it's like, if I wanted to dress 50s, what would I have to wear? If I wanted to wear, like a 60s counterculture outfit, what would that be versus, like a 30s, kind of like sportswear kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and of course also dealing with a very limited budget of like I'm in high school and don't have an income and stuff like that. And figuring out, okay, well, what can I get my parents to buy me from like Kohl's or whatever that fits this aesthetic.
Right.
And that's of course going back to like middle school when I first started getting interested in it. But I mean, that was a lot um, of like pouring through like the Fedora lounges, like different like ad scans or whatever, like
Did you hate
Esquire and
it? But you
Apparel
didn't
Art
hate it though,
scans.
right? Like that you
No,
thought
I
that
didn't
was
hate it. I had fun. Like
yeah.
I was like it was cool to figure all this stuff out.
Do you think it's
Yeah.
because like we grew up playing like video games where like like the grind is like a part of it, and
Yeah,
sometimes you like grinding,
yeah.
Party up, man.
The whole thing. Yeah, party up because you're doing it with friends, so it's funner that way. And then yeah, the whole like once you know like what you want to look like or what you think is cool, and then you're just chasing that now. Like that's part of the hobby. It's part
Yeah.
of the fun of the hobby.
So
I mean,
let
I don't know.
yeah,
I'm not sure if it's like as much video games for me because I'm not the kind of person that generally likes to grind in video games.
sure.
Um, but I would say I would like I don't know. Maybe this isn't good for anyone who just says that vintage is like costume or cosplay or whatever. But I would say it's probably connected. I've said this before. Like I've always had a lot of fun like reading about like history and stuff like that. It's always been like super fascinating to me. So I think
Yeah,
that was just like one aspect of like kind of learning about the past or whatever.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure I thought at some point, like, dandies are super try hard, like stiff collars and everything, or even like, wearing bespoke, like, oh, going through all of that, like, why can't you just wear whatever? But then the more I tie it to like a hobby and seeing how people approach it, similar to like how I approach my menswear, or even seeing how it's like similar to how I do film score, or even playing video games, or even, you know, watching like, I always thought people who watch movies are crazy because like how much effort to put into like find these like really good movies, but like when you're into it, things just like you just find the movies and you just keep
Yeah,
watching it, and like that leads you to another movie, and it's easy to watch. So it's like sometimes hobbies are just easy, man. Like yeah, there's work, but like it's fun work. It's not even
yeah,
work. It's just fun. And just because it
yeah.
takes time and mental bandwidth doesn't mean it's something to shy away from.
Mm-hmm.
But let's shift over to now like the perception of it now, like of how other people see it. Do you guys strive to look effortless? And what does that mean to you?
I feel like when you don't think about it, uh, hold on, let me rephrase that. When you don't think about trying to be effortless, like it helps because I think the whole
Yeah.
problem, at least for me, right, is like uh I would get into my own head too much, where it's like, oh, do I look like I stared at myself in the mirror for like
Mm-hmm.
an hour trying different clothes on, like putting this on, or like, you know, dude, does it does it really matter that I took like that long doing it? It's like, it's I don't, it's like it's a non-issue issue, or it's like it's a bigger thing than I think it needs to be, or that people make it out to be. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Y- Yeah, I mean, it's also the question of will people even notice that it took you an hour to do
Yeah,
this?
exactly. So it's like because because I think about it like, oh, I'm being try hard, or I'm like I'm like taking too much time to like figure this out. Then it's like, okay, then it might, again, other people might not matter, or might not notice it, but it's like to you that's like that's the that's like the cringe, or like whatever you want
I
to
mean,
call it.
I think this is what happens, right? Like we've talked a lot about like slouch versus stuffiness and whatever, and what matters is what rooms you're in, right? Like where you
Yeah.
go, and if you can kind of game the system so it feels more natural. But there's also that aspect of like sometimes we are all just bold people. Like I think we're all like not to be like better, whatever, pretentious, but like we're not the type of people who like to stand in. Like we are loud as a group. We like to make jokes. We're friendly. We like to talk to people. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think naturally, we've stopped thinking too hard about if it's going to be how it's going to be perceived by other people. So there isn't a lot of effort to like dial in the creativity. And instead we just kind of lean into, oh, we like this, just like with cool, we like this, so we just are going to do it.
Yeah.
And if other people think that's cool, or if people think it's weird, whatever, but it doesn't stop us from doing it. So that extra effort of, are we conforming, or are we playing into what people expect of us, isn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
um Spencer,
I'm
what were you going to say about how you perceive, or how you think you look effortless, or if that's even like a goal of yours?
I mean, I think at a certain point, I mean, I definitely want to look comfortable in my clothes, and I think part of that is, as MJ said, not looking like you stood in front of the mirror for an hour trying to figure out if what you're wearing is okay. Not constantly adjusting yourself to oh, is my tie right, or is my collar right, whatever, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I also, I want it to look like I like know what I'm doing or whatever, and I've like put some thought into an outfit. And so again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, or whenever I said it, I have a wardrobe that is that everything just kind of meshes together. So a lot of times it like honestly doesn't take that much effort to get dressed in the morning. Like
Yeah.
today, I was like, oh, I want to wear my two-tone Ricky jacket, and I'm like, okay, well, every shirt in my closet looks good with it. I'll just wear my Western shirt with it today, and that was basically it. But
Yeah.
I don't want it to look like I don't know anything about clothes, or I don't care. I think it's obvious that I care about my appearance or whatever. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah,
just I
it's
just
it's
don't
not
want it
even
to.
vanity, right? It's just intentionality at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't want, like, when you're composing music, you don't want it to sound like you're just throwing notes together.
Uh
Like, you
huh.
want it
Yeah.
to sound like it's a fully formed idea. And sometimes with that, depending on your personal style, sometimes that just requires a lot of attention. Like, yeah, there's a lot of like, I think minimalism requires a lot of intentionality.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
and so, I guess I'll talk about it. So I was talking to our friend Doug, who will be on the podcast in the near future, and we were, again, he's like, ask about the Discord because he's not in it. I'm like, come on, dude, you're my friend. You should be in this damn thing. Support us. But he was saying how, like, we were talking about like the whole effort thing because we were planning on it. And he was like, yeah, I think that because he wears like the same 10 items all the time, and he wants to live out of a suitcase. He actually thinks he puts a lot more effort than I do.
Mm.
I might wear a lot of stuff. I'm a maximalist, but it's it's so easy. He knows. I mean, we've been friends for a couple of years now, and so he knows how easy it is for me. But for him, he's like, yeah, like, because of the suitcase mentality, it's like everything that goes into the suitcase needs to fit a certain criteria. It needs to be versatile. It
Mm.
has to have it be aesthetically pleasing. It's got to have formality, connotations, etc. And that way it can work with whatever 10 to 20 items that fit all into this one suitcase. And I'm like, that's crazy, man. Like, I just
Yeah.
wear a tie and a sport coat and a striped shirt and full cut trousers, and I don't even think about, like, it doesn't matter. And maybe that's just a person. I mean, it always comes down to a personality thing. But I think it is funny when people like try and show minimalism as something that seems effortless, where when you watch all these guys, like, you have to do meditate and think about what it was really important. Like, you have to really
Yeah.
go into this
You
whole
gotta you
thing.
gotta draw a flowchart.
Well, because
Yeah.
I can't remember who was talking about this, but I think this came up in the Discord where it's like minimalism. Yeah, it's like you have to put that much more effort into actually purchasing the clothes. Or I think,
Mm.
well, this came up like your conversation with Doug about like outfit repeating and stuff like that, kind of.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Where our friend Doug, who has great style, but he will rewear outfits a lot, and he said he was telling you that he puts a lot more effort into each individual outfit than he thinks that you do, because he's like, I want to make sure that this is an outfit that I can rewear, like, as many times as I want. It's always going to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still tied emotionally, right? Like, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to feel really good, but like, because of that aspect of feeling good, it definitely has more it has more intentionality and therefore effort. Whereas
Hmm.
I feel great in everything I wear, but I could wear, as if I feel like wearing it, I'm gonna love it. So therefore,
Yeah.
I'm kind of gaming the system, and I think that's what kind of it is. As a general rule with like not rule, but like a guideline with all this effort talk. It's like leaning into what you like because effort will. I mean, just like with if it's cool or not, it doesn't matter. Like what matters is what you think is cool,
Yeah.
and how much time you put into the outfit. If it makes you feel good, like it's like totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't the intention when it becomes purely personal, the amount of effort kind of just goes out the window a little bit. Like even what you said earlier, Spencer, like when it's gonna be shot, like if I'm gonna be there, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of more of like an ulterior motive, right? Of like okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna be photographed. What do I want to be photographed in? And that kind of adds a wrench in it. Not a big wrench, but it definitely adds to the whole. Okay, how much, what context and what am I adding to this equation that results in my outfit? Um, versus say if you don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, I photograph almost everything I wear, so it still doesn't matter what I wear because it's gonna get photographed anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
why not? Um, but for me, to answer my own question about like the perception of it with my outfits, I also like I said with composing, I want it to be like a fully formed idea. I like there to be a through line that kind of makes sense. Like the search isn't about effortlessness, but about feeling like natural. Like it could be a
Yeah.
narrative, right? Like this
Right.
is, you know, like I don't want people to think, okay, is it the right T-shirt with the right pants or whatever if we're doing casual, or is it the right foulard with the right striped shirt? And all of those things again are micro decisions, but it's for me, I don't like using the word effortless. I like using the word natural.
Mm.
Where because when things make sense, like a book makes sense. Like a book is like a well written book that's also well edited will have a flow to it where it doesn't feel like clunky. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a guy is like over scrutinizing his stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though a book takes a long time to publish and will go through multiple proofreads or whatever, or even rewrites or drafts. So it should effort should not be the goal, or effortlessness shouldn't be the goal here. It should just be comfort, obviously, but also like does it feel natural? And again, for me, when it comes to tailoring, the idea isn't I wouldn't say I'm trying to prove that tailoring is effortless. It can be because it can be natural, and I'm trying to explain my thought process of
Mm.
this foulard tie with this shirt with the sport coat or with this suit, and how easy that is, or how easy it can become the more you think about it. Because again, it's like if I were to look at my clothing and without the knowledge of Esquire Man, it would be crazy, right? It would be like
Yeah.
literally, I have nothing to base this shirt with this tie with this jacket. I have no precedent.
Mm-hmm.
But as Spencer said earlier, when you have that precedent, when you have the not even like knowledge and rules, but like just the knowledge of things you just keep in your tank of inspiration, it makes it easy to go like, oh, I'm being Esquire Man. Boom, there it is, right
Yeah.
there. Or oh, I'm going to go Ivy. Oh, that means OCBD and tie. Or sorry, rep tie. Or oh, I'm gonna do Milsurp. Okay, well here we go. Let's put on these things. Or 70s, put on the dungarees. It just again, effort just comes in all of that, and it's so quick,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and I think min max culture plays a big part of this. I think social media definitely doesn't help. Where because of how processed everything can be, I understand it. Or people think there's a lot of work that goes into the picture, but what's really funny is I was talking to a friend of ours and I was showing her about us. She's like, oh, teach me about photography. And I'm like, sure, I don't know how to teach photography.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like the photograph and I take it. And she was like, she was asking me like, okay, what do all these settings mean? I'm like, okay, yeah, f-stop. And I wasn't even saying what f-stop or aperture or even shutter. I mean, shutter speed is self-explanatory, but like what all these things apply to the camera, like physically, right? Like the
Yeah.
are these things that physically change the lenses or whatever, and different light. I'm like, oh, if it's dark, I have a slow shutter speed, I have a high ISO, and I have a lower aperture. And she's all like, "Oh, what does that mean for the camera?" Like, I don't fucking know. I just know that
Huh.
the image I want, I gotta do those things. Like that's how I learned, and it was like it's like baffling to her. And she's not a min max person, but it was crazy. And I was having this other conversation, with another friend of mine, where she's a great film photographer, and she was at a photo meet, and they're like all talking about like um, this sounds so hipster, but they were asking like, oh yeah, what settings were you do you think to take this photo? And she's like, I don't know. I remember the story of how I got to this place and how I took the photograph. I don't remember what the settings were on the camera. And I think that like that's how it should be, right? Like that's
Hmm.
it's all about that like journey. And even with photos or literally any other artistic medium,
Mm-hmm.
like people don't talk about efforts or try hard. It's like it's all kind of baked in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, what
It's
is it?
just
I mean, maybe listen. We gotta figure out why everyone is so mad at fashion guys. You know,
yeah.
that's why do you hate on us fellas that love clothes?
Or why do you hate on the guys who like have any inkling of effort, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm sure the same guys in like, in video games where they're like, "Oh yeah, like that guy's a tryhard." And MJ, I think you said it before where it's like, yeah, you don't have to go for the crazy move, but
Yeah.
sometimes you get to because that's what makes it
Because
cool.
yeah, because it's fun, right? Yeah, you could play the game at like the I don't know what you like the minimum like yeah, we're just using our verbiage for like other things, but yeah, like the minimum effort for like the desired outcome, right? Or you
Yeah.
could or you could
I'm
you could do something you could have fun with it, and and uh it's like time in time out, right? The time that you put into doing something, you're going to get more fulfillment out of it.
right. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's also kind of like attitude a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was trying to first learn Super Smash or Smash Bros. And like, yeah, I get it. Like, there's like L canceling and like the frames of like the shield and everything, and who has advantage at what points. And I remember when I was first doing it, I'm like, I was trying to put it to a science. Like I fell into my own trap, and this was like a couple of years ago, so I wasn't even writing about slouch yet. But it
Yeah.
was like I was like trying to figure this out, and my like and now Scott was like, I mean, I these are the terms, but I'm just playing the game, and and it's funny because it's like clearly he's put a lot of effort into learning this, or I don't even know how he learned it, but clearly he knows all the stuff. Therefore, effort was injected into it. But he's playing it like it's so loose. Seeing the nest just go around is crazy, man.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's me where I'm like, I'm putting in a lot of effort using a character I know how to play, basic wise, but like using all effort, and I'm fucking getting killed because I'm like second guessing myself here. I'm like, oh, if Scott's here, I gotta do this. Where I'm not playing the game, and I think that's what happens with menswear. Where again, maybe we are gonna do an episode on like the no true Scotsman fallacy here, but like there is that idea where if you really enjoy doing it this way and putting this effort into it, maybe you are just like a different breed, or you're into the menswear hobby versus like you're wearing clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's and like Spencer said, like there's you can absolutely put on clothes without knowing and still be stylish because of the connotations you have. But the repeatability of it may not be as easy because you might not know why it's working.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're into it, sometimes even the mistakes are kind of a fit, where like, oh, hey, the like, wearing black and brown, wait a minute, kind of a sick move because I know what I'm doing here. Or sometimes you just have to be okay with things. Um, but as to why people get really angry, I have no idea. Like, are people just jealous? Like,
It's just the like you said before, it's the social media poison.
yeah. It's like, I mean, it's the whole they want because maybe social media. Here's why I think social media is good, is because it means that if you're just not good, then you're bad because it's laid out there. Whereas before, you know, people could get away with having a like not as much knowledge
Yeah,
and passing it off, whereas now it's all like if you can't do it well, then maybe you're just not
as good.
Maybe
good.
you're just
Yeah.
dumb.
Maybe you just suck.
I mean, it's like again like the whole sore winner thing, right? It's like people want other people to not want to be a tryhard. They want people to not be indulgent. But what's funny is that and we're not even the most indulgent people. Like we're not the craziest restaurant. Even in menswear, we're not that wild. People might say otherwise, but some people like what we like, and it's almost like, hey, you don't deserve to be liked. It always
Yeah.
comes down to that kind
Yeah.
of weird attitude, and it's because well, you're putting in too much effort. But again, to those people, I wonder, what is the right amount of effort? You tell me. Tell me exactly. And if you want a quantification thing, then you tell me what you think
Yeah.
that is.
I mean, the
And if
secret, the deep secret is that they're all just insecure that they're not putting in enough effort,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
that's why they're mad.
Or they see,
or
yeah,
they're just not cool.
it's the whole made up like, everybody is like an influencer thing now, or like this. I think this is a little tangent, but like how um with like social media and like whole, oh, I gotta be, better than that random guy on the internet, or like something like that.
Yeah.
um that's why
People
the
just use
whole,
social media wrong. I've been saying
yeah.
this for years.
And
People just
then
need to have fun.
on top of that, like people that monetize, or like, we talk about like menswear YouTube and influencers, stuff like that, how it's like they try to turn it into like a science, but like it's bad because it's,
Yeah.
or like, have you, I don't know if you've seen those like fitness like ads, or like gurus thing, or like, even like the absurd ones where it's like doctors hate like this supplement, find out
Yeah.
how to lose 20 pounds in like 2 months, or something like that. It's the same it's like the same trap where it's like, oh, you want the most out of like the least effort, like here's how you do it. So like I feel like that's why people think that, like, that gets mixed into the whole, oh, like you can get like the highest results with the shortcut, or like the with the low, I'm doing air
Yeah.
quotes, with the low effort
Yeah.
approach, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, why put the least effort when you can just, I mean, again, if that's what you want to do, then you should do it. Like, just like Doug, like when you want to be a minimalist, you should do it. But if you don't, then you shouldn't. Like, I think it's totally fine to spend a lot of time on your outfit if it results in something that you really, really want to wear. You
Yeah.
know, I think again, like you could argue that Ethan, don't wear any casual clothing because it's not as easy for you as like tailoring. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to wear casual clothing. I want to
Yeah.
wear a t-shirt. I also want to make sure that when I wear it, I'm not wearing like a t-shirt and shorts. I want it to be like something that I feel comfortable in. You know, and yeah, you might hear about my effort because I'm sharing it with you guys or I write about it. But like, no one knows how long it takes MJ or Spencer to like make an outfit. They could have taken them
Hmm.
like it could have had a bunch of different variations and they settled on something simple, or it took them 5 seconds and they're wearing like, a
Yeah.
crazy, multiple pattern outfit. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Like only you're gonna know how much effort you put into it. And people are free to make conjectures, but it doesn't it's fine as long as you look good, as long as it's intentional.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Don't pursue effortlessness. It will come to you naturally. And
Yeah.
like honestly,
Eventually.
yeah,
Well, no. You finish your point.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, the more you do it, and even if it takes you a long time, if you're once you're free from that idea of looking effortless, it becomes effortless after that because you start to be like, okay, that's like one less thing to think about.
Hmm.
Like it's like flirting. Like I keep having these conversations where like someone's like, how do you flirt? Well, like, well, I know what my type is, and so when I flirt it feels natural, as opposed to like me trying to flirt with someone I who is like not into me. Like that's an
Hmm.
infinitely harder um uh thing to do versus like, if you just are introspective. Like there's a reason why me and Isabel hit it off and not me and some ABG. Like it would be crazy or just insurmountable for me to
It's
like get
not
an ABG to
natural.
like me. Yeah, it's just, but with me and Isabel, like it just works out because it's natural. And not that I didn't try, it's just there's effort there, but it just made more sense.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
to get to that point, there was effort.
There's still work. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
the relationships don't just fall into your lap. Just like good fits don't fall into my lap. Well, to me, my lap is overflowing with fits.
Okay.
So
Because you got big pants.
They fall
yeah,
into my lap because they come from Ethan.
yeah, it's true. But I mean, hey, dude, the backlog's behind me. Literally, it's so easy to make those fits, man. It's too easy. I gotta
he
stop.
You got to
Uh,
stop putting on clothes.
he can't
yeah,
not do
I
it.
can't not do it. Yeah, Spencer, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I don't know, basically that.
Nice.
Um, and then I said stop putting on clothes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again,
I know
damn
I
it.
have.
Yeah. But again, I like how a lot of this stuff, just like with cool, don't think about it. Just do what you like, man.
Yeah,
Like that's the whole.
it gets easier. Just keep
It
doing
gets
it.
easier, and then when you start to be like us, all that's left there is to do is just to hate on other people who
Yeah,
are
that's
mean.
right.
Yeah,
Just become
Yeah,
a hater, man.
just
that's
become a
level two
hater.
of this
Yeah.
podcast.
When you realize other people are annoying, all
Haterdom.
these social media righteous people who want to quantify something artistic to find again, it's crazy to say to like a filmmaker or to an author to be like, man, you tried so hard on this. Like that's I will never understand this. But hey, we're gonna talk at the end of the year about how much of menswear is a creative endeavor. That'll be a fun one to do
That's
as
right.
well. But hey, if you want to talk to us, and also big shout out to our patrons who helped come up with the talking points and the ideas behind this. If you want to join in, go to patreon.com/style direction, where $5 a month gets you access to our Discord. You also get access to our bonus episodes, which are a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You
baby.
even get an episode
Yay!
during the months that we're on break. So there you go. But $10 a month gives you access to all of that also. But MJ gets to say your name. So MJ, who are we thanking?
We're thanking our sidecast fanatics: Austin Malott, Shane Curry, Philip Gagard, Jarrett Collian, and Henrik Wilberg.
We appreciate all of you guys for those $10. And
You know it.
if you want us to say your name, it's $10 a month, baby. Come on. Don't get your 2 avocado toasts. Actually, I think avocado toast is probably more than that already.
It's probably over $10.
Yeah.
Don't get your
Um,
2 Starbucks.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. We stream at least once a week at twitch.tv/style direction. We also have Instagrams at Style Direction and at Ethan M. Wong.
That's Spencer DSO.
And I'm at Oh Yeah MJ.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.